Capcom needs to fix Street Fighter. Street Fighter's reputation is ruined, right? And it was ruined by a game that you may or may not know called Street Fighter 5. And it was actually ruined at launch. The reason behind that is because of all of the issues that Street Fighter 5 had at launch, just like a bunch of input lag, some OP-ass characters, bad netcode, little to no single player content. It just had a whole plethora of issues, and that's just a couple out of the bunch of fucking issues that the game had at launch. You know, Capcom took a metric shit ton of time to fix some of these issues. And so, you know, despite the fact that a lot of them have either been fixed or significantly improved upon over these past couple years, people are still talking shit about the game because it just took so long for Capcom to fix them, and first impressions matter a lot for games. People, you know, looked at Street Fighter 5, saw that the reviews were shit at launch, and they were like, okay, probably not gonna get the game. Probably ass. How is it going to be fixed? How is Capcom going to go about fixing Street Fighter's reputation? Because knowing it's broken is one thing, but how are they going to fix it? Well, for the first time in, I think at least 5 or 6 years at this point, Capcom finally has an opportunity to fix Street Fighter with the release of Street Fighter 6 right around the corner. Probably coming out within the next year or so, presumably, just rough estimation there. But that, you know, anybody can say that, right? Like, obviously, if Street Fighter 6 was good, okay, yeah, like, that would be good for the franchise and all that. But more importantly, how is Street Fighter 6 gonna be good? Well, I actually assembled here 4 or 5 different points that I believe would contribute into making Street Fighter 6 a pretty fire-ass game. First of all, the game needs good netcode. It's as simple as that. Netcode is probably something that the most people complain about in Street Fighter 5. That's one reason why they need to fix the netcode, but also netcode is just simply good for marketing. If Street Fighter 5 had good netcode, more people would just be inclined to buy the game, and that has been proven on many occasions in the past. I mean, if you look at Guilty Gear Strive, if Strive had shitty netcode, if Strive had that shitty ass doo-doo water netcode, a lot of people probably would have looked past the game and wouldn't have tried it because it's just such a big part of what makes a fighting game good these days. A counterexample of netcode being bad is Grand Blue Fantasy Versus. If you know about Grand Blue, that game, people were hyped for it, but the netcode was trash, and it had a decent amount of players at launch for like a month, and then like everybody stopped playing because the netcode was garbage. It's really bad how the netcode affected that game. So netcode is just really important and something that can absolutely not be overlooked. To be honest, I think that actually Street Fighter 6 is going to have good netcode, and I have good reasons to believe that. I mean, if you just look at like Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, a game that was released by Capcom after Street Fighter 5. Street Fighter 5 was 2016, Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite was, I believe, 2017. Infinite had some pretty solid netcode, and it was made by Capcom, so I think Capcom already fixed their netcode. It's just that they just didn't have it quite down when Street Fighter 5 was released. So if we get at least something Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite-esque in terms of netcode for Street Fighter 6, it would already be much better, and hopefully they'll make it even better than that. But it'll at least be decent, I think. It'll at least be decent. And it's just overall a better gameplay experience, so you know what it is. Another big thing that Street Fighter 6 devs need to keep in mind is the game difficulty. And that's kind of a tricky thing to get right, because if it's too hard, then it deters newer players. We can't have it be too easy either, because then if it's too easy, then the more hardcore players are going to be disappointed if it's too easy. So I put a lot of thought into this over the past couple days on how a good balance could be achieved here. This is definitely not a perfect solution, but I think it's a decent one, and it's to just have a wide variety of combos that vary greatly in difficulty. You would have your easier combos, your intermediate combos, and your really difficult combos. The easier combos would be used by, you know, newer players as kind of an entry point into the game, and that would give you the same benefits as some of the more difficult combos, but you're just sacrificing a lot of damage. And then intermediate combos serve as maybe like a gateway between easy and super difficult, and like the really difficult combos would be like the most optimal and could be used by you know, some of the higher skilled players, higher ranked, whatever. Difficulty wise, somewhere in between Street Fighter 4 and Street Fighter 5, like maybe a little bit harder than Street Fighter 5, but maybe not quite as hard as Street Fighter 4. But you know, somewhere like that would be pretty nice. I think that could work. I think Street Fighter 6 needs some good single player content, some like really solid single player content. Street Fighter 5 had none of that shit. Give the players some good single player content. You see, single player content, maybe not the hardcore players, but the new players, it's the first thing that they're going to look at. It's going to be their first impression of the game, and it's also going to be serving as a bit of a gateway towards them actually playing ranked and taking the game more serious. And first impressions matter a whole lot, like it's been proven with Street Fighter 5 and what happened with that game. I think that would be very important, especially in a franchise like fighting games where there is definitely a lack of players. Having that single player content that is really good, that could serve as a gateway for newer players, would be great. The more players, the better, as they say, right? So just give us like an actual good story mode, something that we don't see a lot in fighting games these days. Some good combo trials, that would be nice, especially if we go for the combo route that I mentioned earlier. And a lot of what we have in Street Fighter 5 too, but just like more fleshed out, like a really good arcade mode would be nice. Heck, you can even like throw in some like mini games, bro. I don't know, something, just good offline content. Like, I'm sure there are some mini games that people would enjoy having. If you look at like Smash, you got some mini games in there in Smash Ultimate. I mean, like in Tekken, you have fucking Tekken bowling. I mean, like, they're small little things, but I'm sure that these are appreciated by, you know, some of the more casual end of the player base. Absolutely. Just a bunch of fun stuff for casual players to do. I think that would be a good thing. Another example would be Smash's, I forgot what it was called. Light Lock? No, not Light Lock. That's the challenge. I'm gonna put it up on screen in the video. This thing is pretty cool. It's like a whole ass thing where you unlock characters and shit as you play through the story mode. It would be great. Smash is a party game. Well, here's the thing, man. Smash is a good example and something to take from when it comes to getting new players into a fighting game, because Smash is absolutely massive relative to any other fighting game out there. As much as it is more of a party game type fighting game, it's still a fighting game, and it has an astronomical amount more players than any of like these games, these other fighting games that we've been playing. There's definitely some stuff that could be taken from it and learned from Smash. Absolutely. Mini games that make you anti-air, yeah, stuff like that, man. Maybe like a beat 'em up style mini game, right? That'd be kind of cool. Fighting games are about multiplayer. It's the way it will always be. Yes, but that's also a very elitist way of picturing fighting games. For us players who take the game more seriously and actually like are more hardcore about the game in a way, obviously for us, you know, we go straight into rank. We don't give a shit about that single player content, but the fact is that like the casual side of fighting games really do care about this shit. They seriously do. And there's a reason why Street Fighter 5 got so much backlash and shit for having no single player content at launch. And like, you can't like ignore that casual scene that exists because it's such a like big part of a player base. I really care about that, but there's nothing for them here. I mean, yeah, but maybe there could be something for them here. Maybe that could change. Street Fighter with Pikachu? I want to see Street Fighter with Mario. I hope Street Fighter 6 would get a Mario guest character. It'd be a Shota. A final point, and this kind of goes outside of what the game itself, but the game needs good marketing, man. Like, marketing is so important. And that's something Strive did really well. They had like a bunch of ads on YouTube and stuff. They had like they even sponsored some like content creators and stuff. They need good marketing. They really do. So good marketing and actually getting people to know about this shit is like a huge step, because it doesn't matter how good a game is. It doesn't matter how good any game is if nobody can actually find it and if nobody knows about it. What happens if the game flops? Why exactly does Capcom need to fix Street Fighter? Street Fighter 6 having a low amount of players, or Street Fighter 6 flopping at launch at the very least, would have massive repercussions not only on Street Fighter, but any and every Capcom fighting game. Because you see, Street Fighter is Capcom's biggest fighting game IP by a large margin. If Capcom can't even get Street Fighter to do well, there is little to no chance that we'll be seeing any of their other fighting game IPs out there for a very long time until Street Fighter succeeds. Your Vampire Saviors, your Marvel vs. Capcoms, I mean even your Street Fighter X Tekkens, we ain't gonna be seeing any of that probably if Street Fighter 6 doesn't do very well. I feel like that's just not a very good marketing decision if they can't even get their biggest fighting game IP to get a significant amount of players. That's the way I see it.